participating in Europe, good evening. My name is David Bunzel, and I'm the Executive Director of the PSIA. I wanted to welcome everyone to the virtual PLAI experience. As you know, we are all living in interesting times. I read a quote the other day that the pandemic has accelerated the digital transformation in businesses from what was expected to be 5 years to 8 weeks. For the PSIA, we have done a similar transformation, taking a year of work to prepare for the PLAI experience at ISC West, and in 8 weeks shifting to a virtual version of our planned demonstration. We can't offer some of the fun of Las Vegas. We can bring the PLAI experience to you. So first, some housekeeping items. Many of us have become accustomed to Zoom, but there are some settings I would like each of you to enable on your system for the best viewing. First, please make sure you are on mute. For those of you not familiar, take your cursor to the bottom of the screen and you will see a microphone icon. If it is not X'd out, please click it. Next, enable speaker view, which is a button in the upper right corner of your screen. This will allow the speakers to be featured, the featured tile on the screen during the presentation. If you have any questions, please enter them in the chat box. You can see the chat screen when you take your cursor down to the bottom of the chat icon. Please enter them in the chat box and we will get to as many as possible, time permitting. Once again, please make sure you are on Zoom, or on mute on Zoom. I'd like to introduce the participants for the event. We have David King, the CEO of Cruitech, Jason Ouellette, Head of Technology Business Development for JCI Tyco, Amanda Imperial, Software Engineer for the Custom Solutions Group at Lanellis 2, Stuart Tucker, Vice President Enterprise Solutions for AMAG, Weston Hyatt, System Engineer at Monitor Dynamics, JJ Baird, Senior Sales Engineer for IDEMIA, John Demetrius, Director of Customer Field Services at ILOC, and Mark Ferris, Product Portfolio Manager at Siemens. Let me provide a little bit of history on the PSIA. The Physical Security Interoperability Alliance was formed in 2008. It involved about 25 of us getting together in a hotel conference room in Dallas, Texas, and deciding on a mission that would allow for open standards to be developed for the physical security industry. We wanted to work on a wide variety of things. We had some very important and valuable achievements in the early days. We had the first open API for video cameras. But in 2011, we made the decision as an organization to focus on area control, which was access and intrusion. 2 years later, in 2013, we conceived the PLAI specification, which is the Physical Logical Access Interoperability spec. And this provides a means for organizations to transfer and dynamically update relevant employee data and privileges from the logical HR system to any physical access control system. And this is going to be what we're featuring today. PLAI is a standards-based specification which leverages the LDAP v3 interface to support a number of logical identity directories, including Active Directory. I'd like to turn the technical demonstration over to Jason Ouellette, who is not only the Head of Technology Business Development for JCI Tyco, but also the Vice Chairman of the PSIA. Jason?
All right, thank you very much, David. Certainly want to take a moment to thank everybody for their participation today. Of course, this is not quite the way we had planned it, given the live demonstration and plans that we had for ISC West. But certainly we have pivoted here as the rest of the world has done to pull together what I think you're going to find is a very compelling way of being able to view the experience in a way that demonstrates not smoke and mirrors, but really the open standard sharing of data across many different participants that normally you find on the competitive battlefield every day, right? But here, really working very well together. So as we go through that, let's introduce PLAI and understand what that is. It is an acronym which stands for Physical Logical Access Interoperability. It is an open specification, so if you're going to the PSIA website, you can pull down the documentations and be able to see what all of those standards are about. Where we're at today with the PLAI specification is the ability to normalize certain parts of data that allow for the sharing of information across disparate physical access control systems and biometric device integrations. And of course, that standard will continue to grow and expand, and we'll talk more about that at the end of today's demonstration. But let's take a minute here to just explore and understand the importance of open standards. So one, this is based on the RESTful protocol in terms of web services and how it works. But when we look at the open standard specification aspect versus proprietary methods of solutions, and you'll see a number of bullet points here that highlight the sort of benefits and challenges of both. But in general, open standards are really a true way of getting scalability and lowering costs when it comes to overall challenges that you face in an industry. So, open standards in many aspects of our own security industry, whether, in the video side of the world, you talk about ONVIV Profile S, or in the access control side of the world, things like OSDP. And now, of course, what we're introducing with the PLAI specification, how that just broadens and simplifies life really at all levels, right? What I like to define as the win-win-win: good for the manufacturer, good for the integrator installer, good for the customer. And that's not always easy to achieve. But one thing, certainly with proprietary solutions, you can sometimes deal with a deeper level of complexity and integration in it, but that definitely comes at a cost. And here, with what we're looking to do based on this specification and open standards, is being able to really follow what works well for identity and credential type information, the ability to create, read, update, and delete, and be able to do that in a very open, transparent way that simplifies a lot of complex enterprise type challenges. So, just to share again a little bit about, the fact this is open standards for anybody to be able to participate in. And again, some of the advantages of using that over proprietary solutions. So taking a little bit deeper look at how this all works, right? What is the magic? So one, this is following the PLAI profiles, which are spelled out in the specification. We're leveraging the RESTful APIs, which gives a great flexibility for anybody who's adopting this to use what language works for them and be able to speed up being able to get these integrations done. The API is exposed via web services, meaning it uses HTTPS for secure encrypted communications. But one thing that's important is there are two aspects of the PLAI relationships. There's the agent, which we'll be introducing here in a minute. And the agent is in charge of managing all of the adapters and the biometric devices and anything else that's getting added. So it is overall responsible for the management of what happens with all the data. And underneath that, then you have the adapters, which also are using the RESTful web service connection, again, through HTTPS in a secure way. And those adapters have to comply to the standard. There's actually a test tool that is used for each of the adapters, and you'll see and the participants today, all of those have gone through and achieved a certificate level validating that their adapter behaviors comply to the standards rule, which means any agent that is following the specification can work with that adapter. And again, that's what gives you a level of scalability and simplification. You'll hear more about that when we talk about some of the biometrics later in today's presentation. And ownership is another key element of how all of this works. So there are two levels of ownership in the relationship of the implementation of PLAI. The first is around the identities or personnel. That is owned by an authoritative source, which today we support connecting through the LDAP protocol. And so those relationships come from the authoritative source. The agent then takes that data and is responsible for the dissemination and synchronization of that across all of the adapters that it's managing. There's a slightly different role in ownership when it comes to the credential. So the credentials can be created at the adapter level. and they become the owner of that data. So if I create a credential in one of the physical access control products, that is pushed up to the agent. The agent then replicates that through its synchronization to all of the other adapters who can then be able to leverage that information. But the adapter that created it is the owner. Now, this ownership model is important because it helps to reduce conflict and avoid synchronization conflicts that may occur when multiple edits can happen. So ownership is a key part of the design here, and you'll see that throughout today's demonstration. So as we go through and talk about the architecture of the demonstration you're going to see today, we have the authoritative source. We're going to be using the Azure Active Directory, so a cloud-based Active Directory service, again, connected through LDAP. Beneath that, what you're going to see is the Cruitech PLAI agent. So this is, Cruitech is the company that's developed this agent, but that agent is really just implementing against the specification. And that's what all the adapters are going to connect to. That's for today's demonstration based in Dublin, Ireland. Then I'm going to step down to the adapter level. So going left to right, we have the Linnell S2 product representing OnGuard. That is going to be connecting today's demonstration from Rochester, New York, and of course is a physical access control system. AMAG with the Symmetry product is connecting from Collinswood, New Jersey, and again, physical access control. For the Johnson Controls and Tyco product, it's Secure 9000, which is connecting from Sterling, Massachusetts. I'm also co-presenting with JJ Beard from IDEMIA, and his product is set up with our Secure 9000 here, and so that will also be coming from Sterling, Massachusetts. Then you have Monitor Dynamics with the iTrust product connecting from San Antonio, Texas, representing biometric. iLock from Boulder, Colorado with the Iris integration, that also being biometric. And then Siemens with the CPAS connecting from Switzerland, again, representing a physical access control product. So, so that is all of the adapters, a good representation here of a lot of the industry leaders that are now adopting the standard, and you'll be able to see live how that is all working. So again, a little more of a pictorial of the architecture and how that looks. At the top, the authoritative source, again, Azure in this case, replicating all the personnel and the group organizational units to the PLAI agent. The PLAI agent then passing those OIs of groups and personnel onto all the adapters that are connected, and ultimately the credentials then, which can get created at the various packs, being pushed up to the agent, and the agent making those available to all packs, along with the information necessary to understand the card format aspect, which is something you can't get from a typical HR or LDAP straight connection. So this takes care of that complexity as well. So one credential can work across an entire enterprise with multiple packs and devices. So this is really what you're going to see today. So with that, I'll just touch on a little bit of the flow of the demonstration, and then we're going to get into seeing the live product in action. So as part of the demonstration flow, we're going to start off looking at the PLAI agent from Cruitech. We'll show an overview of what the product is and how to see current status and what's happening with synchronization. We're then going to move to an adapter level, and we're going to look at the display of how you see the adapter, how that gets started, how information is initially synchronized with that. And then we're going to go through adding a personnel from the agent, replicating that across, and then from a PACS level, adding a credential, going through biometric enrollments, editing a credential information, and then ultimately deleting a record. Now, each of the blue arrows between these steps represents the physical actions that we're going to be taking, and you'll be able to watch us with the view of the PLAI agent dashboard and what's happening in the various adapters to actually see how all this information is being managed by the PLAI agent. So, so hopefully that's going to be an exciting thing for you guys to be able to observe, and again, as much as possible in this virtual experience, be able to assure you of the not smoke and mirrors, but actual use of the specification to be able to pull all of this off. So with that, we're now ready to engage into the whole virtual experience. So I'm going to stop sharing from the slides here. And now I'm going to go over to where we have the Johnson controls. Hang on a second. So my Zoom meeting just disconnected there, so it's going to take a second. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into well, actually, while that one's reconnecting, let me share from this machine. And so let me pivot here real quick, because it looks like my Wi-Fi, the joys of working from home, may have, oh, I see actually. My Wi-Fi may be giving me a hard time here. David, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jason. And I can share my screen to show the actual agent if you want to talk to that.
Yeah, so let's do that, because it looks like my Zoom session has generated an exception. So on this laptop, it's going to reconnect. So if you bring that up, and then I'm going to jump back in here as quickly as possible.
Okay, Jason, it just says you have to stop your current share before I can actually start a share here. And Jason might have dropped off. So I don't know if I can start a share here on my side. So just bear with us, guys.
Debbie is the host. She should be able to share over Jason's and then cancel it and then allow you to share.
Yes, Debbie, can you please do that? Just start a share on your side and then override Jason's, and then I will just share my screen until Jason gets back. There we go. And I'll share my screen here. And so what you guys will see on screen here is the actual PLAI agent. And the PLAI agent, as Jason started describing, is this piece that sits between all of the various systems and that is ensuring the data movement between all the various PAC systems that you see here. So what you'll see is the PAC systems that we have online at the moment is Siemens, CPAS, and this server is actually based out of Switzerland. We have AMAG Symmetry, and they're in New Jersey. Morpho Manager, which is there in Boston as well. We've got iLock in Colorado, Monitor Dynamics, and we've got Linnell On Guard, which is in New York as well. So as you'll see, is all of these systems from across the world are currently connected to this agent, and this agent itself is actually hosted in Dublin, Ireland as well. So if we look at the amount of users that are currently in each one of these systems, you'll see all of them are showing a consistent number of users, which is 81 users, which we're actually pulling from the LDAP. And you can see that pretty clearly here within the agent itself as well. And you'll also see the Secure 9000 adapter is currently showing offline. And there's actually a very good reason for that. So part of the demo, what we want to show you guys is if we start up and within the Secure system, we've cleared out all of the existing users currently. And if Jason comes back online and he starts it up, what we want to show you guys is the users actually pulling into Secure 9000. And let me just close all of this down. Are you back? Okay, perfect. So you're welcome to continue, Jason. I'll stop my share. And then just to finish my thought, so what you guys will see is the users will actually start populating automatically within Secure 9000 without anyone having to touch anything. And the agent that sits in the middle there is really doing all the work for you. So you're welcome to continue there, Jason.
All right, thanks. So JJ, did you cover the dashboard components of the agent or no?
Absolutely. I only covered the dashboard, and you're welcome to continue with the various other sections of the agent there.
Yep. Okay. So you covered the LDAP connector, all the online, offline, okay, perfect.
Yes,
and then,
absolutely.
And then the various menu options. Okay. So with that now, you can see a very comprehensive view of what's happening with synchronization. And that certainly is necessary for the management of all of this information. So now what I'm going to do here is just sort of change the view so you have a smaller view of the agent, but then I have Secure 9000 here on the left side that you can see. This is the Secure 9000 admin client. And what I'm going to show you is a dynamic view of personnel. I'm just going to hit the refresh button here so you can see I've got no personnel. Again, I'll go through just a quick, oops, not a find, but a refresh. So there are no credentials. And on the clearances, again, no clearances. So this is a very clean Secure 9000 with no data that, you know, and unlike the other adapters that all have existing data, and we just want to show you starting from scratch how this replication works. So the next thing I'm going to go through and show you, I'm going to bring up what's called the Secure 9000 server configuration app. And inside this configuration app is where you'll see right here, the extension services. The very first one in the list is the PSIA integration. That is the software house Secure 9000 PLAI adapter. And so like all the other services, I have the ability to just start and stop and manage that. So it's built right into the product. And so from here, I'm going to go ahead and click the start button. And you're going to see that won't take it very long. It will go from a status of stop to now running. And you'll see that it's spinning there, and then that's going to change status. And once that's up and running, we're going to flip back. And so start pending should be coming to running here momentarily. And there you go. So now we have a running status of that service. And I'm going to come back, and now we're going to show on the right-hand side here, you can see Software House, which is disconnected. Now that the adapter is running, once this comes and picks up the next check for service, then that's going to move it into the online adapters and begin to do the synchronization. I'm just going to make sure the VPN disconnected, which you'll see here. So I'm just reconnecting that. Sure that my web browser is up and running. So let's just take a moment. But as soon as that reconnects, then it's going to go through and begin to do all of the synchronization to the agent to bring down those 81 records, right? So, and this will happen fairly quick. So once this reconnects, you'll see it go to a green status. All right. Okay, so we're good with the connection now. And now the adapter is going to be able to see the PLAI agent, again, which is based in Dublin, Ireland, coming from Sterling, Massachusetts. And so now on this next check, you're going to see the offline adapter move into the online adapter column. And there it goes. So I'm going to scroll down here just so you can see Software House. And the difference is you now see the spinning wheel of status showing that it is in the synchronization cycle. So it is identified there are a total of 81 users, but none of those have been pushed down to Secure. Now, if you're watching this window on the left side, which is the admin client, I'm going to put the focus on personnel. And as it starts to synchronize those data, again, I'm not touching Secure, nobody's doing anything. You're going to witness how those 81 users coming from the authoritative source, and you can see now how they've started to populate in. So all those records are being pushed from the agent down. And you'll start to see, for instance, now in the agent side that there are 12 records, and then that will keep updating, 20 records, 40 records, till it reaches 81. So in roughly less than a minute here, we're going to have 81 new personnel that are created inside the Secure 9000. But it's not just the personnel, right? The other thing we talked about as part of the replication of this is the groups, which in Secure 9000 become the clearances, or in various other packs might be access levels, or whatever the terminology that's used with those various products. So now all the personnel are there. I'm also going to go over to clearances and see that at the start, I had no clearances. Now I have 3. I've got an SOC operator, an enterprise key admins, and an IT engineers set of clearances. And the difference is within the packs, although the groups get pushed down, locally, each of the adapters defines what that means. So very quickly here, I'm just going to go into my clearance, and I'm going to give the SOC operator clearance access to all doors and Secure always. So my security operators have the ability to move around, but just to, again, make this quick for demonstration. So I'll save this, and now I have a well-defined clearance on a group that came from the agent within Secure. So with that now, I have completed showing a full synchronization. So the total 81 users pushed down all three groups. I've created a clearance, and the one thing that you're going to see here that has not happened is the credentials, right? So there still are no credentials created anywhere within the various packs yet. So that's where we are in terms of the status of replication. And so now that we've done that and showed that synchronization, what we're going to do is we're going to go over and show the next part of what we're going to need here. So again, virtually hard to demonstrate, but each of us that are working in the demo today have been provided a series of physical badges. For the purpose of this, yep, and you can all hold them up and show, but we have the same exact, so these are duplicated badges, because normally for a real demonstration, we'd have one person actually go to each of the stations. We can't do that today, so we've replicated the credential to make that happen. So, we'll kind of toss that off the screen and let each other demonstrate using the same physical credential, which represents one person. So we're going to take, starting with a Prox 26 badge that is using card number 100 and facility code 123. But before we, again, to make sure you get the feel that there's no smoke and mirrors happening here, this is the real deal being managed by the CrewTech Play agent in this case, these credentials are not live or working anywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop presenting for a moment, and we're going to go over to Weston from Monitor Dynamics, who's going to show us their product and the fact that this credential is not in their system. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Weston, if you can go off mute and give us a show of your credential 100.
Very good. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, so I have the credential 100 here in front of me that also has a facility code of 123 with the credential number of 100. And on the screen now that I'm sharing, you can see the iTrust interface, and I'm on the events window showing activity as it occurs in the system. So I'm going to take that credential and present it to a reader. And as I do, you can see a line is populated with the yellow background indicating there was access denied for unknown card number, and the user number, the credential number associated with that is 100, indicating denied access because this credential does not exist in the local database.
All right, perfect. Weston, thank you very much for that. All right, so if you stop sharing, we're then going to go over to John from iLock on the biometric side, and also take a look at what he's got in terms of that credential. John, over to you. Don't forget to go off mute.
Yes, thank you, Jason. Thank you, Mark. So over here, let me get the Zoom icons out of my way. We have the EIS software, and you can see here that there are no credentials currently entered in any of the records. I can sort by card number, and there will be no credentials or facility codes coming in here. And so just as a further verification, I can present my eyes to the reader here and activate the loiter, and you'll see a red reject light there.
Okay. So, as part of what we're doing here is just trying to go through, just randomly picking various elements in here to show you, again, no smoke and mirrors. These credentials, well, they're ready to be used. They don't exist anywhere in terms of the infrastructure, and it's not being managed by the PLAI adapter. So, Weston and John, thank you for taking us through that with your products. So next, I'm going to go back to sharing here for a moment. So I'm back to the Johnson Controls Tyco machine where we're running Secure 9000. So that should be coming up for you. Yep. Okay, so first I'm going to flip over to our Secure 9000 monitoring station. I've now picked up the badge 100 from John and Weston. I'm going to present that to my touchscreen reader up here that's connected to the iStar Edge. And you're going to see at the very bottom here in the window that it has showed reject unknown card badge 100. So this badge also doesn't exist within Secure 9000. Now, we're going to start a journey to change that. So I'm going to maximize the Play agent here for a moment. And one of the things which you heard JJ cover while I was momentarily severed from my Wi-Fi connection. So thank you for the coverage there, JJ. On the menus here, one of the options that we have is for user management. And if permissioned, you can actually do the add and the group management from the agent. But of course, you could always do those changes directly from the authoritative source, and that would work fine. So if the agent is not permissioned to do that, that's not a showstopper. So here I'm going to go into the user management. That'll take a second for that to change screens here with the refresh rate. And as that comes up, you're going to see a list of all of the users that are defined in the Azure Active Directory instance that we're connected to. You gotta love refresh rates here. So just stand by, it's coming, I promise you. So as that comes up, what I'm gonna be taking us through is the step of now adding a brand new user to that interface. So while the agent is refreshing through that, let me just take you over. I'm gonna go up into the Secure 9000 admin. I'm gonna come into the filter box here, and I'm just gonna type in the name Doe. And so you can see this user does not exist in Secure 9000 with a last name Doe. So as we've now demonstrated that, I'm gonna come over to the Play agent. You're now seeing all the list of users, right? And I can expand that and you'll be able to show more of these records at a time. So you'll see the option for doing that. I can search for users as well. But what I wanna do right now is I'm gonna
All right, so it looks like Jason probably froze again. So what I'll do from my side is I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly what Jason would have shown. So Debbie, if you could just reset that share again. There we go. I saw some movement there. Jason, are you back?
I think I am I?
Okay, wonderful. I can hear you again. Okay, you're welcome to continue. And looks like he's gone again. All right. So Debbie, if you could just please just reset that screen share, so I can just share my screen and show you guys what Jason was planning on doing. So the idea would be that this would simulate the creation of a user within your authoritative source, and whether that authoritative source is something like a full identity management system, or whether it's an LDAP-based system like Active Directory, which we're showing here today, that is really irrelevant. And this is why we're showing you from the actual interface. So if I open up, this would be exactly the same screen you would have seen that Jason just showed. And if we go in here and go to the bottom, we can click on Add. And so as Jason said, those wonderful refresh rates. And I'm going to add a user called Jane Doe. And so we're going to do Jane, middle name. We'll just leave that blank, and we'll put a last name of Doe, and we'll put an email, janedoe@hello.com. We're making sure that she's an LDAP user. And then over here, this links to your LDAP groups currently. And so we're gonna, and the LDAP groups is linking in the background to all the access control systems to their access levels or clearances or whatever that particular system calls it. So in this case, we're gonna add this user Jane Doe to the access level or group, the LDAP group called SOC operator. And that's going to determine her level of access. So it's going to determine where she can go. And this is actually very powerful, because now we have central management of all of this across various different access control systems. So if you're currently running 3 or 4 different access control systems, this really brings that all into one single interface. And if I want to change someone's access, I go into a single location, give that person access to the location where Jane Doe would have access. And once I create it, Jane Doe will now start proliferating down to all of the other systems. So what you will see is all of these systems will now start to update, and you'll actually see an increase. So you'll see the user count now within LDAP shows 82 at the top. And those 82 will now update down to the various systems. So what we'll do is, Is anyone who would be after Jason at the moment?
So JJ, I'm back and just need a moment here to connect Secure, and then I'll come back to showing that.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry guys, the home Wi-Fi appears to be having issues with my provider, so so it's dropped out here momentarily with me. So I'm should be reconnected here, and JJ, if you want to stop sharing, I'll take it from here.
Absolutely, Jason. There we go.
Okay, thank you. Again, sorry for that interruption. Okay, so as now this will come back up. Let me just minimize the Zoom connection here. So I'll cancel this because JJ already added the user. I'm going to go back to showing the Play dashboard, and over here, as we reconnect the VPN, which will take a moment here, you'll see that the record that JJ created with the last name Doe is going to come across. So let me just get the VPN connected. Again, sorry for the less than ideal.
Maybe in the meantime, Jason, we could have Stuart show that the record came across within their system.
That's fine. Let me stop sharing, and Stuart, you can go, and then I'll come back.
Stuart, go off mute, yeah?
Yep, I'm off mute, I hope. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So if you look, here's my back end here is the dashboard of all the different agents. And you can see I actually was making sure it came over. So if I do a search for Doe, there's our record, Jane Doe. It came over pretty much instantly. And then if I open it up, you'll see not only did it come over, but it actually was put into the right access code. So that would give it access to the correct, day one type places, like, front door, whatever. But the idea again is I didn't have to go into AMAG and do anything. It happened totally automatically based on the, the identity being added to the HR or authoritative data source, and, pushed down automatically and got the correct access day one automatically. That's the key takeaway.
Okay, so thanks, Stuart. And as we bring the share back over here. Okay, the share is going to be coming up. All right, so as soon as you see that, again, split window, you've got the agent, there's 82 users. As I take and scroll down on the status here, you'll see Secure 9000 has now got 82 of 82, so that synchronization has occurred. And on the left, all of a sudden, in that dynamic view where Doe is, Jane Doe has showed up. Now, as we open up that record that has been replicated down from the addition that JJ did and the Play agent a few moments ago, you'll see that again from the general tab, it's read only. I don't own the record. It's from the authoritative source. The clearance side does show the SOC operator, so that knows that it has access to doors. But the thing that's missing here is there's no credential, right? So at this step of the demonstration, I'm going to go in. I'm going to click Add Card Access. And this card, which you saw us show a short time ago that did not exist, I'm going to put in credential 100. The Chewed format is defined and set up for a prox 26, along with all the necessary information to include passing over the facility code. So I'm going to put in the facility code. I'm going to leave activation, expiration as a default, but you could change those along with issue code or other information. So now as I complete this, I'm going to hit save and close, and Secure 9000 through the Play adapter is now going to send us up to the Crewatech Play agent. And so as I go over on the other side of this and scroll up to the top, right? So now we're going to see that these various adapters are going to start synchronizing And on the right, you'll see in the bar chart that a credential starts showing up as that synchronization occurs. So just to show now, and this of course is, probably more of an automatic thought, but again, to make sure that everything is, is showing that it works, I'm going to go over to the Seeker 9000 monitoring station. I'm going to present that same card 100 to the touchscreen reader. That opened up the mag lock and gave me an access granted. And you can see in the monitoring station at the bottom, admitted Jane Doe card 100. So this credential is now successfully working, and that's in Seeker 9000. So with this now, we're going to then switch over here. We're going to go back to Stuart with AMAG. So I'll stop presenting, and we're going to show that credential is now replicated. As you saw a few moments ago, that did not exist with an AMAG. Stuart?
Actually, it did. We went and showed that while you were setting back up, so we should jump to Mark, who can show it. It's also in Siemens.
Okay. Mark, you got it?
I got it. Thank you, gentlemen. So as you can see, I have the dashboard running. Everything looks synchronized. You can see in our audit trail here in CPAS that the Jane Doe record did come through. If I did a search, you see that the Jane Doe record, card number 100, facility code 123. She's in the SOC operator group. And if you see up here in the video, if I swipe the card, it turns green and she accessed that door properly.
All right, perfect. So again, a credential which was added in the Seeker 9000, passed up to the Crew Tech agent, replicated over to AMAG, replicated to the Siemens CPAS. Now we're going to go over to Amanda, who's with the Linnell S2, to show how that credential has shown up in OnGuard. Amanda?
All right, thanks, Jason. This is Amanda with Linnell S2. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm going to share my screen, get the Zoom stuff out of the way. And here I have on the left, I've got the CoreTech PLAI agent with all the adapters here. And system administration, OnGuard, you can see Jane Doe is here. And if I go to her badge, she's also got badge ID 100 and her access level SOC operator from the group assignment.
All right, outstanding. So now we've gone through the various packs, right? We've seen how Jane Doe from the agent replicated to everywhere. The credential has now, you've seen across multiple packs, showed up and is now valid for access based on the SOC operator common group that we're all sharing, and then providing the definition of what that means within each of the various systems. So next we're going to take a transition over to start to look at the impact of this on the biometric side. So I'm going to jump over John with ILOC, if you want to take the demonstration and show the Jane Doe record, and then do an enrollment against badge 100.
Sure thing. Sounds great. Thank you, Jason.
Over to you. Yep.
All right, so let me get my screen shared here. Okay, and I'll expand the EIS software, and we will go ahead and search for Doe. And we see Jane Doe here with card 100 and facility code 123, just as expected. And it's very simple in the ILOC software to just add the iris biometric to that record. You just simply click the enroll button there. Make sure you have your enrollment device selected, and go ahead and click the capture. One of the nice things about ILOC biometric is that you're keeping your head in motion, so you don't have to stand still. And we're able to get both eyes at the same time in just a few seconds there. And as the video is being diced up into the nice, crisp, and in-focus still images, you can see we have acceptable images here by the software. Move on to the next button. And I just want to point out again that this is specifically owned by the authoritative source. The name and everything here is all grayed out. The only option I have is to just ensure that we have the correct credentials selected here, which is card 100, facility code 123. So we'll go ahead and save that record. And that will trigger the synchronization to happen with the database and the device. And we can go ahead and give a quick recognition. And you can see we have the green light in the background for positive authentication.
All right, John, thank you very much. And so that gets through showing how Credential 100 got to the biometric side of the house with iLock. And now I'm going to continue the biometric journey. We're going to go over to the IDEMIA Morpho Manager system. So let me go ahead and share that one up. Okay, so, and I'll just refresh the Play agent on this side. So on the left here is the Morpho Manager BioBridge enrollment app. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into the search, and I'm going to just put in the Credential 100, which was added from, again, the Secure 9000. So I'll perform the search here. You're going to see that it comes up with Jane Doe. Again, the group SOC operator was passed down for their product. So the next part here is to be able to do an enrollment. You'll notice here that in the background on my desk for my video side of this, that I have the Morpho Compact Wave device here. That's integrated into one of my doors on the iStar Edge panel for the Secure 9000. So as I go through here, I'm going to click Enroll. And I'm just going to choose to do the left hand. So on the Compact here Wave, I'm going to go ahead and pass my fingers through. You're going to see that come up. Okay, and just 3 quick passes through here. And one more. And you're going to see that it's going to now complete the enrollment for my left hand, and that is a good registration. So I'm going to click Next and Finish. And at this point now, you notice the enrollment button has gone disabled because I have completed a valid enrollment for the biometric. And now that this device is connected to the iStar, when I pass that left hand through, you hear the access granted, the mag drops open, and now on the Secure 9000, that is admitted Jane Doe based on the IDEMIA Morpho Manager integration. So you've seen again across 2 biometrics how that works. So I'm gonna stop sharing here and for a moment pass it over to JJ from IDEMIA, who's gonna share a little bit more about the importance of the biometric side of this. JJ?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jason. So to those of you that don't know me, my name is JJ Baird. I'm a senior sales engineer with IDEMIA, and I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm also the technical chairman for the PSIA and currently leading the technical direction where we're going with the PSIA. And when we got involved with the PSIA, we had a lot of integrations into various different PAC systems. So we had around 30 different integrations into PAC systems. And as time goes by, and as I'm sure all of you have probably experienced in the past, is all of these systems start updating at some point in time. So it started to become a little bit of a maintenance nightmare for us to ensure that we can keep up to date with all of these systems that we integrate with. And when we saw PLAI, we saw that as a very good possibility and a very good opportunity for us to start standardizing the integration that we have. And so what we saw with PLAI is that because we only have to create one single integration, we just create our own adapter, this automatically makes us compatible with any organization that has already created their own adapter. So this means even if today there are maybe 10 organizations that have PLAI adapters, in future when it might become 20, 30, 40, we didn't have to do any additional work to make that work. Out of the box, we're compatible with any system that is compliant with the open standard. And so once we solved this problem about integration, what PLAI primarily focuses on today is the movement of credential holders and credential data. So you know, as you saw, someone is created within your authoritative source that gets sent down to all of the systems. A credential gets created and that gets sent down to all of the systems. So we asked ourselves, what can we do to make this better? What can we do to expand this and give it a lot more feature-rich features. So one of the things that we looked at was biometric data. So we said, what if we could view credentials as not only a card, but include things like PIN, include things like biometric, and we expanded it, and it's actually available today, so that now PLAI can actually send biometric data from one point to another between different manufacturers of biometric systems if they support the same modalities, or even the same systems where if you enroll maybe on a completely disparate system in the West Coast of the US and you want to go get access on the East Coast on a completely different system, instead of re-enrolling, PLAI can sit in the middle here and completely facilitate that integration end to end. And so we're very excited about the future of PLAI, because now we can also share PIN information to biometric systems and to any other system. So if I create my card and I create my PIN in one system and it gets updated in one system, that information now automatically populates to all the other downstream systems. So it really puts us in a good position to have that single point of management instead of managing 5 or 6 different systems to ensure that we have consistency throughout these various systems. And that's
right,
it. Yeah.
JJ, thank you very much. So again, talking about the value of PLAI when it comes to integration, simplifying the complexity of various proprietary versions and drivers. And so now if you're compliant with the current specification of PLAI, it takes away some of the version challenges that happen and maximizes how many potential different packs that can integrate to. And that's just a very powerful story. So JJ, thanks for covering that. So I'm now on the next step of this journey going to go through an update. So I'm going to go back to the JCI Seeker 9000 machine. So you'll see that coming up here in the share momentarily. And as we discussed at the beginning of this about the ownership roles, right? So the ownership of the personnel lives at the agent level, and we're going to see that in a few minutes. But we talked about the ownership of the credential being with who created it. So you saw a few moments ago that in Seeker 9000, we created credential 100. So I'm going to go back to the admin client. I'm going to open up the record for Jane Doe, and I'm then going to go to the credential tab. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to change the credential numbers. So Jane is moving from credential 100 now to credential 200. And I'm going to now save and close that record. And again, that's going to push up from the Seeker 9000 adapter to the PLAI agent, and then begin to do the synchronization with all the other various adapters. So as that occurs, then we can now see how that change then replicates down to the various others. So so with that, then we can move over to either AMAG or CPAS as an example to be able to see the credentials. Stu, are you ready to okay? So let's go ahead and I'll stop presenting, and then you can take over the control.
So as you can see, I can go into my card holder screen, and then again, we'll look up Doe, and we can see Jane Doe, and I can already see here without even going into the record, the card number has changed to reflect 200 now. So it happens generally in about a half a second. It's really fast, which is kind of nice.
And you can see on the left-hand side where he's got the dashboard up, right, in the various levels of synchronization. That's what pushed that update to him. So this isn't a manual add by Stuart into AMAG to create credential 200. That is automatically being pushed by the agent. All right, thanks, Stuart. And so now, Stuart, I'm going to ask, well, you have control here. If you maximize up the agent and you can take us through a change of personnel, if you would go into the user tab and let's get rid of Jane Doe.
Oh, you're fired. So I bring up Doe, and then if I hit delete, it's going to confirm I want to delete at some point. Yes, delete. And boom, Jane Doe should be gone at this point.
So if you can go back to your dashboard for a moment. Oops,
and you can see it's already gone. So
sorry.
let's search for Doe. Yeah, it's done.
That was pretty fast. All right, so if you want to stop the presentation, we're going to go over to Mark with the Siemens CPAS product. Mark, if you can share.
I can.
Okay.
So you can see in our audit trail in CPAS that the card holder was deleted. If I present the card, you'll see a void card, and I no longer have a Jane Doe in my system.
And if you present credential 200, right, that's no longer valid. So, and now let's look at the biometric side of it. So John, over to you with iLock, and let's see what happened with Jane Doe with you.
All righty. Get the screen share going here. Okay, and let's go ahead. Oh, we're in the logs here. Let's go back to the card holders, and it's already gone. I can just do it again just for total transparency, but when I search for Jane or Doe, the record is completely gone. So that includes the credential and the biometric enrollment. So now when I go to look over at my device, it will not recognize me as expected, and we'll get the red reject light again.
All right, perfect. John, thank you very much. If you want to stop presenting there, yep. And so let me just, as we come back to sort of a conclusion here. So, you know, that wraps through looking at the ownership, the replication across various packs, as well as the biometrics. And hopefully, despite my Wi-Fi hiccups there, and JJ, thank you for the coverage while I was in my interim outages, but you know, that still provided the continuity for you to be able to see how everything was actually happening through the agent, you know, in as real time as can be. So with that, we'll just talk about some of the, again, use cases of today and where we're at with the PLAI specification. So if, you know, any customer with disparate physical access control systems, where there is integrations involving biometrics, and again, potentially more than one PACS, but even if it's single PACS and multiple biometrics, biometrics integrated for single enrollment across the biometric systems, and even for visitor management, where visitor management goes through the same authoritative source or multiple authoritative sources where the conflict is being managed. Beyond that, for tomorrow and some of the roadmaps is the ability to truly support multiple authoritative sources through what we call TAMs in the specification. The ability to support event and alarm replication across the systems, and the focus for destination dispatch for elevators. So as you can see, you know, a pretty meaningful ability to solve complex problems in enterprises today with the integrations of biometrics and as well the identities and credentials, to include the complex part of card formats. And then as we're moving forward, our roadmap has some exciting additions that are just going to continue to build on the value of the open standard. So with that, and I know we're pretty tight on time, but David, I'll turn over to you to moderate if there are any questions we can take at this time.
Well, actually, we are at kind of the top of the hour, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to dispense with the questions. If anybody has questions, you have the email. You can always send them to info@psialliance.org, and that will allow us to get questions answered to you directly. We're going to be having a brief summary recording of this event that we're going to be sharing with all the people who are registered for the group, and we'll look forward to hopefully seeing people in person at some event coming up when we will do this in a more personal setting. But anyway, I appreciate everybody joining in, taking your time. Everybody be safe, and thank you very much for joining our event.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thanks.